The snow fell softly on the city streets, creating a gentle blanket of white that muffled the usual sounds of traffic and hurried footsteps. Sarah Mitchell pulled her thin coat closer around her shoulders as she sat on the cold metal bench at the bus station. The winter air bit through the worn fabric, making her shiver despite her efforts to stay warm. She had been waiting for nearly an hour now. The evening shift at St. Mary's Hospital had run late again, and she had missed the 7:30 bus. The next one wouldn't arrive for another 20 minutes. Sarah checked her watch and sighed quietly. The small apartment she rented was still a 40-minute ride away, and all she wanted was to get home, make a cup of tea, and rest her tired feet. The city lights reflected off the fresh snow, creating a magical glow that reminded Sarah of Christmas, cards from her childhood. She found herself thinking about the holiday season approaching, about how different this year would be. For the first time in her 28 years, she would be spending Christmas completely alone. Her parents had passed away in a car accident 2 years ago, and her younger brother had moved across the country for a new job. Sarah had no other family, no close friends who would invite her over for holiday dinner. The thought made her chest tighten with a familiar ache of loneliness. A black car pulled up to the curb nearby, its headlights cutting through the falling snow. Sarah barely glanced up at first, assuming it was just another traveler picking up a passenger, but the car didn't move on. Instead, she heard a car door close, followed by the sound of expensive shoes on the snowy pavement. "Excuse me," came a deep, gentle voice. "Are you all right?" Sarah looked up to see a tall man in an elegant dark coat approaching her. He had kind eyes and brown hair that was dusted with snowflakes. Behind him, she could see a small figure bundled up in a bright red winter coat, holding what appeared to be a teddy bear. "I'm fine, thank you," Sarah replied softly, though her voice betrayed her exhaustion. "Just waiting for the bus." The man studied her for a moment, taking in her thin coat and the way she was shivering. "You look cold," he said with genuine concern. "And you seem to be alone. I'm Michael Harrison, and this is my daughter, Emma. We were just driving by when I noticed you sitting here." Sarah introduced herself politely, unsure why this stranger was taking such interest in her well-being. Michael seemed to be well-dressed and clearly wealthy, judging by his expensive car and tailored coat. She wondered why someone like him would stop to talk to someone like her. "Are you waiting for someone?" Michael asked, glancing around the nearly empty bus station. "Just the next bus home," Sarah explained. "It should be here soon." Michael frowned slightly. "In this weather? The roads are getting quite icy. I heard on the radio that some of the bus routes are being delayed due to the snow," as if to confirm his words. A voice crackled over the station's loudspeaker, announcing that all evening buses would be running at least 30 minutes behind schedule due to weather conditions. Sarah's heart sank. She was already so tired, and the thought of waiting even longer in the cold made her want to cry. "Look," Michael said gently, "I don't want to overstep, but would you like a ride? My driver can take you wherever you need to go. It's no trouble at all." Sarah looked at him with surprise. "That's very kind, but I couldn't possibly impose on a stranger like that." "You wouldn't be imposing," Michael assured her. "Actually, I was hoping we might talk. You see, I noticed the hospital ID badge on your coat. You're a nurse, aren't you?" Sarah nodded, touched the badge she'd forgotten to remove after her shift. "Yes, I work at St. Mary's." "I thought so." "I'm actually in need of someone with medical training, someone who could help me with Emma here." He gestured toward the little girl, who had been watching their conversation with wide, curious eyes. The child looked to be about 4 or 5 years old, with dark hair peeking out from under her red knit hat. She held her teddy bear close and gave Sarah a shy smile when their eyes met. "What kind of help?" Sarah asked carefully. Michael's expression grew more serious, and she could see a deep weariness in his eyes that she recognized from her own mirror. "Emma has some health challenges. Nothing life-threatening, but she needs careful monitoring and someone who understands children's medical needs. I've been managing on my own, but I'm afraid I'm not doing a very good job." He paused, looking down at his daughter with such love and concern that Sarah felt her heart soften. "The truth is, I'm a single father, and I'm struggling. I run a company that requires a lot of travel and long hours, but Emma needs stability. She needs someone who can be there for her, especially someone with medical knowledge." Sarah found herself drawn to the vulnerability in this successful man's voice. She could see how much he loved his daughter and how the weight of caring for her alone was taking its toll. "I've been thinking about hiring a live-in caregiver," Michael continued. "Someone who could provide both medical support and the kind of nurturing presence that Emma needs, the kind of mother figure she's been missing since—" He trailed off, but Sarah understood. The little girl had lost her mother, and her father was doing his best to fill both roles while managing a demanding career. "I'm sorry," Sarah said quietly. "It must be very difficult." "It is," Michael admitted. "And that brings me to something that might sound presumptuous, but I'm going to say it anyway. You mentioned you're waiting for the bus, and you look like you've had a long day. You also look like someone who understands what it means to be tired and alone." Sarah felt a flush creep up her neck. Was her loneliness really so obvious? "I'm going to make you an offer," Michael said, his voice becoming more confident. "You need a home, and I need a mother for my daughter. I'm not talking about anything inappropriate or rushed. I'm talking about a practical arrangement that could benefit us both." Sarah stared at him, not sure she had heard correctly. "I'm sorry, what?" "I have a large house with plenty of space. You could have your own suite of rooms, complete privacy, and a salary that would be significantly more than what you're making at the hospital. In exchange, you would help me care for Emma, provide medical oversight for her health needs, and give her the feminine presence she's been lacking." The snow continued to fall around them, creating an almost dreamlike atmosphere. Sarah felt as though she was living in some kind of fairy tale where handsome strangers appeared out of nowhere with life-changing propositions. "This is all very sudden," she said slowly. "I know it is," Michael agreed. "But sometimes life presents us with opportunities at exactly the moment we need them most. I've been searching for the right person to help with Emma for months, interviewing candidates and meeting with agencies, but none of them felt right. Then I saw you sitting here tonight, and something told me to stop." Emma chose that moment to step forward, still clutching her teddy bear. "Are you really a nurse?" she asked Sarah in a small, sweet voice. "I am," Sarah replied, crouching down to the child's eye level. "I help take care of people when they don't feel well." "I get sick sometimes," Emma confided. "Daddy tries to help, but he gets scared when my chest hurts." Sarah looked up at Michael, who nodded grimly. "She has asthma, among other things. I've learned to manage the medications and treatments, but you're right, Emma. I do get scared." Sarah felt a tug in her chest as she looked at this little girl who needed care, and this father who was trying so hard to provide everything his daughter needed. She thought about her own empty apartment, her quiet evenings spent alone, the holidays, approaching with no one to share them with. "Why me?" she asked Michael. "You don't know anything about me." "I know you're a nurse, which means you've dedicated your life to caring for others. I know you were sitting alone at a bus station on a snowy night, which suggests you understand what it means to need someone. And I know that when I asked if you were all right, you answered politely, even though you were clearly not all right. That tells me you're the kind of person who puts others before herself." Sarah felt tears prick her eyes. It had been so long since anyone had really seen her, really noticed who she was and what she might need. "I also know," Michael continued, "that Emma has been watching you this whole time, and she hasn't hidden behind me once. She's usually very shy with strangers, but something about you makes her feel safe." Sarah looked down at Emma again, who was now standing even closer, her big brown eyes filled with hope and curiosity. "What do you think, sweetheart?" Sarah asked the little girl. "Would you like it if I came to help take care of you?" Emma nodded enthusiastically. "Could you read me stories?" Daddy's voices for the characters aren't very good. Sarah laughed softly, the first genuine laugh she'd had in weeks. I think I could manage that. Michael stepped closer, his expression earnest. Sarah, I know this is unconventional, and I know it's a big decision, but I'm offering you more than just a job. I'm offering you a chance to be part of a family, even if it's not a traditional one. Emma and I, we need someone like you. And from what I can see, maybe you need us too. The truth of his words hit Sarah like a warm wave. She did need them. She needed purpose beyond her hospital shifts. She needed companionship. She needed to feel like she mattered to someone. Most of all, she needed to feel like she belonged somewhere. There's something else, Michael said quietly. I want to be completely honest with you. This arrangement, it wouldn't just be professional. Emma needs consistency, and I need peace of mind. If you agree to this, I'd want you to really become part of our lives, to be there for Emma in all the ways a mother would be. Sarah felt her heart racing. The magnitude of what he was proposing was both terrifying and thrilling. You're talking about changing my entire life. Yes, Michael said simply. I am. The question is, are you ready for that change? Sarah looked around at the snowy bus station, thought about her lonely apartment, her routine of work and solitude. Then she looked at Emma, who was now tugging gently on her coat sleeve. Will you come home with us? Emma asked, with the innocent directness that only children possess. Please? Something in Sarah's chest seemed to crack open, letting in warmth she hadn't felt in years. She looked up at Michael, who was watching her with hope and something that looked like desperate need. All right, Sarah said quietly. Yes, I'll come home with you. Michael's face broke into a smile of pure relief, while Emma clapped her mittened hands together in delight. Really? The little girl asked. Really? Sarah confirmed, standing up and brushing the snow from her coat. As they walked toward a black car, Michael carrying Sarah's small bag, Emma skipped alongside them, chattering excitedly about all the things she wanted to show Sarah at their house. Her teddy bear bounced in her arms as she talked about her room, her toys, and the big kitchen where they could make cookies together. The car was warm and spacious inside, with soft leather seats and classical music playing quietly. Sarah found herself sitting next to Emma, who immediately began showing her the teddy bear's special features, how his ear was soft for rubbing when she felt scared, and how his tummy played a lullaby when pressed. As they drove through the snowy streets, Michael occasionally glanced back at them through the rearview mirror. Sarah caught his eye once and saw such gratitude there that she felt her own eyes well up with tears. Are you crying? Emma asked with concern. Happy tears, Sarah explained, wiping her eyes. Sometimes people cry when they're very happy. Like, when Daddy cries during the movies with the dogs. Michael chuckled from the front seat. Those aren't happy tears, sweetheart. Those are sad tears because the dogs are so brave. Sarah found herself laughing again, and she realized that in the space of an hour she had laughed more than she had in months. The feeling was foreign and wonderful. The house, when they arrived, was exactly what Sarah had imagined when Michael mentioned it was large. It was a beautiful colonial-style home with warm lights glowing in every window and a front porch that looked like something from a magazine. Snow covered the perfectly manicured lawn and the bare branches of the old oak tree in the front yard. Welcome home, Michael said as they pulled into the circular driveway. Home. The word echoed in Sarah's mind as she looked up at the house that was about to become her new life. For the first time in years, she felt like she was exactly where she belonged. Emma took Sarah's hand as they walked up the front steps, still chattering about all the adventures they would have together. Michael unlocked the door and gestured for Sarah to enter first, and as she stepped across the threshold into the warmth and light, she felt like she was stepping into a completely new chapter of her life. The house was even more beautiful inside, with hardwood floors, elegant furniture, and family photos covering the mantelpiece. But what struck Sarah most was how much it felt like a real home. Despite Michael's earlier claims that he was struggling, there were Emma's art projects stuck to the refrigerator, toys scattered in the living room, and the lingering smell of dinner in the air. "Emma, why don't you show Sarah around while I make some hot chocolate?" Michael suggested. For the next hour, Emma gave Sarah the grand tour, showing her every room with the enthusiasm only a child could muster. They ended in what would be Sarah's suite, a spacious bedroom with an attached sitting room and private bathroom, all decorated in soft blues and creams. "This will be your special place," Emma announced seriously. "But you can come to my room anytime you want, especially if I have bad dreams." "I would be honored to help with bad dreams," Sarah replied, settling into the comfortable armchair by the window. When Michael appeared in the doorway with 3 mugs of hot chocolate, Sarah felt a sense of completion she had never experienced before. Here she was, in a beautiful room that would be hers, with a little girl who already seemed to adore her, and a man who saw her as the answer to his family's needs. "I want you to know," Michael said as they sat together sipping their drinks, "that you can change your mind at any time. If this doesn't feel right, if you're uncomfortable, if you need anything at all, you just have to say the word." But Sarah knew she wouldn't change her mind. Looking at Emma, who had curled up next to her on the couch with her teddy bear, and at Michael, who was watching them both with such contentment, she knew she had found something she hadn't even realized she was searching for. "I won't change my mind," she said softly. "This feels like exactly where I'm supposed to be." Outside, the snow continued to fall, blanketing the world in peaceful white. Inside, 3 people who had been incomplete in their own ways sat together in the warm light, beginning to understand that sometimes the most beautiful families are the ones that choose each other. As the evening grew later and Emma's eyelids began to droop, Sarah found herself thinking about the bus she had missed, the cold bench she had been sitting on, and the lonely apartment she had been dreading returning to. It seemed like a lifetime ago, though it had only been a few hours. "Thank you," she whispered to Michael as Emma dozed against her shoulder. "Thank you," he whispered back. And in that quiet moment, surrounded by the warmth of her new home and the gentle breathing of the little girl who was already becoming like a daughter too, Sarah knew that this was the beginning of the life she had always hoped for, but never dared to dream she would find.